Hey there, Legal Tea listeners. This is your host, Jenny Roselle. Today we're on the estate planning of the rich and famous topic, and for today's episode, we're going to be diving into what happened estate-wise following the passing of Sonny Bono. In his 62 years of life, he did a lot. He was a singer, he was a songwriter, he was an actor, and even got into politics in his later years, specifically in the late 1980s, early 1990s. As always on these celebrity estate planning episodes, let's first talk about Sonny as a person first, then get into all the estate things after that. According to his Wikipedia page, Sonny was born in Detroit, Michigan, but he and his family moved to California when he was 7 years old. Fast forward many years, he ultimately did not finish high school, but that turned out to not really matter because in his teenage years, he actually started to write songs. And at the young age of 16 years old, one of his songs actually got picked up and recorded by music duo Don and Dewey. So really his music career started as a songwriter and really early on. Much later, in 1954, Sonny married his first wife, Donna, and they had one child in 1958 named Christine. Though, in 1962, they did end up divorcing. And about that time is when Sonny met singer and actress Cher, and they ended up getting married in 1964. Then, in 1965, he and Cher began the singing duo Sonny and Cher, which is very well known. And Sonny was who wrote their famous song, I Got You Babe. In 1969, Sonny and Cher welcomed their first child together, which was Sonny's second child, of course, and that was Chastity, now known as Chaz. While they ended up divorcing in 1975, Sonny and Cher actually continued to perform together. In fact, their last appearance was many years later, specifically in 1987, on the David Letterman show, and they, of course, performed I've Got You Babe. Through the 1970s and into the 1990s even, Sonny got into acting and was in various roles in some big-name movies like Charlie's Angels, Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, Hairspray, Men in Black, and even starred as himself on an episode in The Golden Girls. It was perhaps through all these appearances that he met his next and third wife, Susie, and they married in 1981, but ended up divorcing a few years later in 1984. And a few years later after that, Sonny ended up marrying a fourth woman, which was his final wife, named Mary, and together they had 2 children. Their children's names I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I looked for far too long to try to figure out how to pronounce them. I couldn't find it. So their 2 children were named Chesare and Chianna. So if you kept track of all of that, Sonny had 4 total children, Christine, Chaz, and the 2 that I just named. In the late 1990s, specifically 1998, Sonny was involved in a skiing accident and ultimately died from the injuries. And somewhat of a little bit of a weird fun fact or interesting tidbit, when he passed away, his late wife, Mary, was actually elected to serve out Sonny's congressional term. Because remember how I said he got into politics? Well, she actually did serve and then subsequently got reelected 7 additional times from that congressional seat before she ended up getting beat in 2012. I totally didn't know that. Anyway, so back to Sonny. Sonny passed away in 1998 at the age of 62 years old. After Sonny passed away, even though he had talked about getting his estate plan done, after all, he was in his 60s, it was discovered he did not get one done. So he is yet another celebrity on my celebrity estate planning case episodes that passed away without a will, without a trust, nothing, no estate plan. And this has been the theme lately, right? In our celebrity estate planning episodes, the last few people we've covered have died without anything. So Sonny was no different than all of those others. He died without an estate plan, which left so much to clean up. And that's exactly what happened. Without that estate plan, his estate went through the probate court process, and from there, his estate was administered under intestacy laws, which if you're a faithful legalty listener, you know what that means. It means that someone dies without a will, and the state's intestacy laws are the default estate plan, meaning the state gets to pick who your beneficiaries are. Through the icky probate process, there were three kind of big messy things that occurred through Sonny's estate administration. So let's talk about them. First, Sonny's widow and final wife, Mary, ultimately became the executor of Sonny's estate, but not without a little bit of a fight. Because Sonny did not have a will, he didn't have anyone named to become his estate's executor. And when there's no one named, it's sort of a free-for-all, to be honest. Anyone can become the executor. And that's something you can definitely learn from Sonny's estate and his poor planning, because just because Mary was his wife doesn't mean she's automatically going to be appointed. Mary had to prove why she should be appointed. And ultimately she was appointed as the executor, though I'm certain we can all imagine different families, friends, family dynamics, etc., where if there's not anyone named, if there's not someone named in the document, it would be like World War III on who should be appointed. It's just ripe for disagreement, right? As I often say in these kind of cases, and it stays true for Sonny's case, whose opinion was the most important on who should be named as his executor if he were to pass? Sonny's. And whose did we not have, but we could have had if he had done an estate plan? Sonny's. The second big messy thing that happened in Sonny's estate was in regards to his very famous second wife, Cher. So as I discussed earlier, Sonny and Cher got divorced in, I think it was 1975, right? Well, as part of the settlement agreement, according to an article on grunge.com by Daniel Johnson and Elizabeth Maxim, Sonny was court-ordered to pay Cher $25,000 monthly for 6 months, $1,500 per month for child support, and $41,000 in legal fees. Well, Cher claimed that Sonny did not pay any of those fees. So Cher went after Sonny's estate to recover what she was owed. And in addition to all of that, Cher also went after Sonny's estate regarding royalties that she claimed that Mary, as executor of Sonny's estate, wrongly denied Cher half of the royalties that was agreed upon in Sonny and Cher's divorce settlement agreement. Specifically, the value that Cher put on her half of the royalties was $1 million. And crazy enough, the Grunge article I pulled this information from was written in just 2022. And in terms of an update on this whole Cher piece, they share, as of this writing of the episode or of the article, the legal decision is still pending. So you heard that right. I guess it's still going on. People, he died in 1998. And now for the third big messy thing that occurred in Sonny's estate was in regards to a love child. Yep, a love child. So here's the scoop. According to Johnson & Maxim's Grunge article, after Sonny passed away, a gentleman by the name of Sean Machu made a claim on Sonny's estate claiming that he was an illegitimate child of Sonny. And in his argument, he brought to surface that Sonny in his own autobiography, actually admitted that he had an extramarital affair and did so with Sean's mother. And furthermore, on Sean's birth certificate, it actually designated Sonny as the father. Interestingly, things got a little Jerry Springer-like because Sean said that there was no relationship with Sonny at all. Like, he had no relationship with Sonny at all. Even after Sean attempted to call Sonny's congressional office many times and never got a return call. When Sean made the claim on the estate, things, of course, got a little crazy. But ultimately, Sean ended up withdrawing his claim after he did a private DNA test. The DNA test was not made public, so no one really knows what it said or what happened. But Mary, the executor, made a very clear statement that she would not contest Sean's claim if he was actually Sonny's child. And that was kind of about it. The whole love child thing essentially fizzled. So it's basically assumed that Sean's DNA test showed that he was not a biological child of Sonny, since after the claim, Sean kind of bowed out and sort of disappeared. And I think this is something we can learn from, Sonny's estate and poor planning as well. It's not lost on me that the whole perfect like family is so rare, and does it really actually exist? That people come with past relationships, past experiences, etc. And things like Ancestry.com and 23andMe are really shining a big light on uncovering long lost and sometimes totally unknown biological family members. And I actually have a story on this topic, which I'll share in 1 second. But the reason I think it's important to bring this up is because if there's a legitimate concern about someone coming out of the woodwork, then having an estate plan, a will, a trust, a something, to specifically state who you are designating as beneficiaries, even if others try to come out of the woodwork. So, my real quick story on this. I worked with a family that, long story short, when I got involved, Dad had pretty advanced cognitive impairment. And so I had primarily worked with Dad's 2 kids, who were his power of attorney. Well, fast forward a little bit of time, Dad passed away, and we bring in the family, which was a good-sized family. I think there were 6 kids. Well, through my interactions prior to Dad's passing with the family, I had really gotten to know all of the kids. So when they all came for the meeting that happens after someone passes away, I totally expected all 6 kids to be there. And so the meeting, they all show up, I walk in, I see all their 6 faces, and I see a new 7th face. And I sort of assumed, immediately I assumed it was an in-law, it was, one of the spouses of the kids. To be honest, that is what I assumed. So as I always do, I always write down who is all in the room for the meeting. So I go to write down all 6 kids' names, and I look up, I look at the new face, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry if we've met and my memory is just totally failing me, but can I ask your name and who you are? Well, it turned out to be a biological child of Dad that Dad had given up for adoption, and this child had reconnected with his biological brothers and sisters on Ancestry.com. And I tell you what, my red flags started flying up, and I'm like, oh, of course he's showing up now after Dad's gone. Well, he shared, that he was simply there just to see how he could help his brothers and sisters. And he actually even said, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just here to support them because I didn't even know they existed until recently. And would you believe me if I told you that is exactly what happened? Well, believe me, and I didn't really believe him at first, honestly, and maybe that's the cynic in me, and everything worked out just fine. He seriously just helped out, and he didn't ask, and he didn't get a penny. But there are a lot of similar stories out there like this, right? Of family members that are not known about. And I keep saying that I think this whole Ancestry.com, 23andMe stuff is really going to hit my estate industry hard in my career. There will be a lot of people that will come out of the woodwork and not be like the story I just shared. Instead, like Sonny's love child, they may pop up, cause a little bit of a mess or a big mess. And if there are any messes at all that the lawyers have to deal with, you already know their bill is going to be higher than, these people, people that don't have these kind of issues. And that's only fair. If we're working more and harder, why wouldn't their fee be more than someone who doesn't have these issues, right? Alrighty, I think we're ready to put Sonny's estate drama to rest and wrap this episode up, shall we? So next week, we're back to a cautionary tale episode where we talk about real-life clients, real-life cases that I or my office have worked on. And during that episode, we're going to be talking about a blended family where the wife, who had 2 kids, really never took the time to talk to her kids about how she had incorporated her husband, not their dad, her husband, into her estate plan. So fast forward some time, she passes away, and I tell you, emotions were high, tension was high, and I remember thinking, had she just had a conversation with her kids, this tension could have probably been avoided. But it didn't, because she didn't. So we were left playing referee, and maybe that's just part of our job, and that's fine, but I'm not sure she would have wanted to see how many extra emotions and tension her lack of communication caused. So nonetheless, tune in for that next week, Legal Tea listeners, and until then, take care and be well.